Drowning wasn't rare for ancient humans. It was one of the most common ways to die. No pools, no lifeguards, no swimming lessons offered anywhere, by anyone, for any price. Just rivers, floods, and open water, waiting to kill anyone who couldn't move through it. So how did the first humans actually learn to swim with nobody there to teach them? The answer isn't really about sport. It's about survival and how fear turned into skill. Let's start with the oldest evidence we actually have of humans in water. In the Sahara Desert, of all places, archaeologists found something called the Cave of Swimmers. Painted roughly 10,000 years ago, the walls show human figures in swimming-like positions. Arms extended, legs kicking, bodies stretched out horizontally, exactly how a swimmer moves through water today. At the time these paintings were made, the Sahara wasn't a desert. It was fertile wetland. Lakes and rivers covered areas that are now nothing but sand for hundreds of miles. Those early humans weren't swimming for fun. They were living beside water that could kill them, and that's the first thing to understand about ancient water exposure. Today, water is optional. You choose when to swim, and where, and if you even want to. For ancient humans, water wasn't optional at all. Rivers meant drinking water, fishing, and travel routes. You couldn't avoid rivers, lakes, or flooding, even if you were terrified of drowning. So the danger wasn't something they could just walk away from. It followed their entire way of life. Now look at ancient Egypt, where the Nile River controlled almost everything about daily survival. Egyptians didn't just live near the Nile, their entire civilization depended completely on it. Food, transportation, trade, even religious ritual, all connected directly back to that one river system. Hieroglyphs found in Egyptian tombs actually show people swimming using a stroke similar to modern side stroke. This wasn't decorative art either. Egyptian children were taught to swim early, often by family members. Some historical records suggest swimming was considered a basic life skill, not a luxury or hobby. If you couldn't swim in ancient Egypt, a simple boat accident could easily become fatal instantly. Now travel to ancient Assyria, a civilization built around aggressive military expansion and constant warfare. Stone relief carvings, still preserved today, show Assyrian soldiers swimming across rivers during active military campaigns. But here's the detail that makes this genuinely clever. They weren't just swimming with bare hands. Soldiers used inflated animal skins, essentially early flotation devices, to cross rivers while carrying heavy equipment. This wasn't primitive improvisation. This was engineered problem-solving applied directly to a life-or-death situation. An army that couldn't cross a river quickly could be trapped, ambushed, or completely wiped out. Swimming wasn't a personal skill here. It was military strategy, and losing meant losing everything. This pattern keeps repeating across completely different civilizations with no contact between them whatsoever. In the ancient Mesopotamian story, known as the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest written stories in human history, swimming is mentioned directly as part of the narrative. It is treated as a completely normal human ability. That detail matters more than it seems at first glance. It means swimming wasn't seen as unusual. It was assumed knowledge, something a hero in the story would obviously already know how to do. Now let's move to ancient Greece, where swimming took on a slightly different meaning entirely. The Greeks connected swimming directly to education and intelligence, not just physical survival alone. There's a well-documented Greek insult from this era used specifically to describe someone considered uneducated. The insult roughly translates to this: he can neither swim nor read. Think about that phrasing for a moment. Swimming was placed on the exact same level as literacy. Not knowing how to swim wasn't just a gap in ability, it reflected poorly on someone's upbringing. The Romans took this idea even further, treating swimming as essential military and civic training. Roman soldiers were expected to swim across rivers fully equipped as part of standard military preparation. Swimming was taught alongside horseback riding, combat training, and basic literacy as core components of Roman education. Wealthy Roman families built private pools specifically for teaching children how to swim safely and properly. This was not leisure. It was preparation for a world where rivers could appear in the middle of any journey. Now here is a detail most people do not expect at all. Japan actually holds a surprising historical record. The earliest documented swimming competition in recorded history took place in Japan around 36 BC. Emperor Suigai reportedly organized these early swimming contests, turning survival ability into structured competitive sport. This tells us something important. By this point, swimming had already evolved past pure survival. It had become skillful enough, common enough, that people could actually compete and compare ability directly. So if swimming was this widespread and this important across every major ancient civilization we have covered, how did the very first humans actually learn it? The honest answer involves a mix of instinct, observation, and extremely high-stakes trial and error. Humans, like most mammals, have a natural reflex called the mammalian dive response that is still present today. When your face hits cold water, your heart rate automatically slows and blood shifts toward vital organs. This response likely helped early humans survive sudden, unexpected submersion even before real swimming ability existed. But instinct alone does not fully explain skilled technique-based swimming seen in ancient artwork across multiple civilizations. Researchers believe children likely learned by watching animals move through water first and then imitating that motion. Dogs, for example, naturally paddle when placed in water, an instinct that does not require any teaching at all. Early humans living closely alongside animals would have witnessed this constantly in rivers, lakes, and shallow water. Mimicking that basic paddling motion is actually remarkably close to some of the earliest documented swimming strokes. Beyond observation, there is also the undeniable force of necessity, and how quickly necessity can create skill. If a flash flood hit a settlement near a riverbank, hesitation could mean immediate death for anyone caught. Children who grew up constantly near dangerous water either learned basic swimming early or faced serious risk. This created something researchers sometimes describe as environmental selection pressure, though not in a formal evolutionary sense. Communities living near water passed down swimming knowledge directly, parent to child, generation after generation without exception. It wasn't written down as formal instruction. It was demonstrated, corrected, and practiced directly in real water. This also explains why swimming ability likely varied so dramatically between different ancient regions and cultures. Desert-based or purely inland civilizations, without major rivers or lakes nearby, had far less exposure to swimming. But river civilizations, like Egypt, Mesopotamia, and parts of ancient China, developed swimming knowledge much earlier and more consistently. Geography wasn't just background scenery here. Geography directly decided which skills became necessary for basic survival. Now compare all of this to how swimming works in most modern lives today, in developed countries. Today, swimming is often optional, recreational, something you might learn purely for fun, fitness, or vacation. For most of human history, that framing simply didn't exist at all, anywhere, for anyone. Not knowing how to swim wasn't a personal choice. It was a serious, ongoing threat to survival. And this connects back to something bigger about how ancient humans actually approached danger in general. They didn't have safety equipment, warning systems, or modern infrastructure protecting them from natural environmental threats. Every skill, including swimming, had to be learned directly through necessity, observation, and repeated high-stakes exposure. There was no room for casual learning. Mistakes near water often had permanent, irreversible consequences attached. So when you think about swimming today as something relaxing, recreational, maybe even a summer hobby, remember that this exact same physical skill once represented the difference between surviving or drowning permanently. Ancient humans didn't learn to swim because it sounded fun, or because someone offered structured lessons. They learned because rivers, floods, and open water were simply unavoidable, dangerous, and constantly present around them. Fear didn't stop them from entering water. Fear is exactly what forced them to master it instead. That's really the pattern running through almost everything this channel keeps uncovering, video after video. Ancient humans weren't less capable or less intelligent just because they lacked our modern tools and technology. They were constantly solving deadly, immediate problems, using nothing but observation, necessity, and hard-earned experience. Swimming wasn't a hobby back then. It was survival, disguised as something we now consider recreational and relaxing. If this changed how you think about something as simple as swimming, imagine what else we've overlooked. That's exactly what human civilization is here to keep uncovering, one forgotten survival skill at a time. Subscribe if you want to keep going back further and keep discovering what history quietly left out.